Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are. Happy. Today, I wanted to come on here and talk about March Madness and offer some tools for soothing your nerves, soothing your body, soothing your energetic fields. We are getting bombarded with lots of activations this month. Hello. So if you are sensitive, you are probably feeling this. One of the ways that this can come through is extreme ups and extreme lows. And when we have either of those polarities happening, it can really dysregulate our nervous system and dysregulate us from being present in our bodies. And both of these states can do this. And so with this full moon that we have coming up this month, with the spring equinox that we have coming up this month, with all the other transits that we have going on, I wanted to talk a little bit about the astrology, a little bit about the energetics, and just offer up some tools and some strategies for being in your body during a time when there's so much polarity and there's so much inviting you and kind of initiating and trying to activate you into places that aren't good for you. So the high side, hello, if you're just joining, the high side, the soul side of Neptune is all one consciousness, connection to all that is. It is knowing that all states, all wolves, light, dark, gray, live within each and every one of us. That's the highest state of Neptune, is dissolving ego. We always still have ego because we're on planet Earth and we're meant to have an ego, but it's seeing beyond that. It's being able to observe that and be like, oh, there's my ego. Hi, it's not letting ego fully drive the whole situation. So that's the higher state of Neptune. The lower state of Neptune is deception. It's deception into states that will connect you with God, source, whatever, that are outside of yourself, that are drug-induced, that are induced through creating villains and angels. Where do we see this playing out in our world stage right now? The creation of villains and memes and things going around about one particular human that is evil. And all these other amazing leaders are the angels, where we can get spun off of our center. So to connect back to Neptune, the highest state of Neptune, is to know that all lives within. The villain, the angel, and everything else in between, which leads me to why feminine leadership, the archetypes in astrology for your success, is such a vital program. And I launch it every March. This is the third year. Well, the last 3 years, I've launched it every March, and it fits so well with coming into this closure of Pisces season. And we are getting, with this Pisces season, much larger doses of Pisces, because we not only have Neptune in Pisces as we've had for the last few years, but now we have Jupiter in Pisces, really activating and expanding this Piscean energy, expanding this Neptunian energy. And as some of you know, if you're in tune with the astrology, we are going to have this conjunction between Neptune and Jupiter in April. But March, before we get there, we unfortunately are going to see more of a split. We're going to see more of people, as I said for years, we have multiple different triggers based on our own history, our own trauma, our own past, our own soul's journey from past lifetimes. We have our own triggers that if we don't heal, if we don't go in and do the somatic work and the integrative work and the embodiment work, we will get triggered by these things in our external environment. The news will tell us what to get triggered about. And if we haven't done the inner work, we will fall into those pictures. We will fall into that consciousness. And there's many different ways for many different trigger points to get pulled into that deception. That is Neptune. as some people call this, the age of deception. And it's really important now that the South Node has moved into Scorpio. It's really important to understand, like, are you in your history or are you in your future? Are you in your history? Are you moving towards your history, or are you moving towards your future? And ultimately, what this comes back to is the body. What's getting activated in your body right now? Where do you feel tightness or restriction in your body when you hear something on the news? When you hear something from a friend, where do you get activated? Because that's where your work is. And ultimately, this March Madness and providing tools for soothing yourself and your nervous system always come back to the body and to the present, to your breath, to where you are here. There's a saying about birth, that birth takes place more here between the ears than it does here between the legs. And that ultimately holds true for everything in our lives, that what's happening between here is everything in your life. So if you're avoiding inner work at this time, you will be caught up in those highs and lows. So we are getting these light activations on planet Earth right now. There's this hope that many of us can integrate that light and use it to clear out some of the more shadowy bits. It's not that the shadow is bad. It's just that if we're not looking at it, or we don't want to look at it, it can rule our lives, right? So important thing to remember when you are having a hard day, when you're feeling more tired, when you're just feeling more low, that's actually the time where you're integrating it or rejecting it in the body. So on those days, how would you talk to a 3-year-old that's having a hard day? How would you talk to a little baby being that's having a hard day? Ultimately, that's the kind of compassion that we need to use for ourselves on those days. And just as important, when you're having that extreme high state, when you're having that extreme, anything that is out of the norm, we call it the ecstatic state, right? When you are in those high states, can you come back to the breath? Can you bring all of that high kind of jittery energy all the way down into your root? In Kundalini, which I don't have a strong feeling either way about Kundalini, but a lot of it is that bringing the energy up. I don't honestly think that that's what our mission here on planet Earth is ultimately for. I think it's the opposite. It's to bring it down and into our root, to bring it down into the body. And the more that you can do that and anchor that light, the better you're going to feel and the more regulated you're going to feel. So when you're having those high states, being the observer with all of these things, just being the observer of that state. It's not that you have to disassociate from feeling good. It's just that bring it into the body. Like, where does that resonate the most when you're in that high vibrating state? And just allow yourself to breathe into that place. Allow yourself to feel your body. Because ultimately, that's the goal in being here. Okay, so I want to talk about the full moon. I kind of got a little distracted there. I guess this is what needed to come through. I wanted to do the full moon astrology a little bit early because I'm going on a trip next week. And the full moon is on March 18th. It's actually, depending on what time zone you're in, for Pacific, I forgot what PST stands for. Pacific Standard Time, that's what it is. That is like midnight. So it's like right when we move in. So we're looking at the 17th, 18th time frame here. And it's in 27 degrees of Virgo. We've had the full moons in 27 degrees of a sign for a long time. This is mercurial energy. This is processing. This is digesting. And when we are at a full moon, any full moon, we are asked to see, we are asked to illuminate. Excuse me, I'm drinking my green smoothie, which I always know is a bad idea when I'm doing these lives because I just tend to burp up green smoothies, so sorry about that. But, okay, so any full moon, we're illuminating, where things are being brought into consciousness. This is extra true with these full moons that we've been getting. And now as we move closer, we are getting closer to the eclipse season, and that will be coming up soon, shortly. Therefore, the full moons tend to get more intensified as we move to those. Now, this full moon is important always, 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 because any of the mutable full moons are changes. So this is the full moon where we notice the most changes, and because of that, it can feel like that March Madness energy. Now, 2 years ago, at the full moon in Virgo, which this is full moon is in Virgo. So this mirroring full moon was at the time when the VID, just like don't want to say anything that's going to get this less than it already is getting, was when it was brought to the world stage. So it was already a thing, we know that, but it was brought to the world stage at the full moon in Virgo. I remember very particularly because I was actually out on a date and everything was shutting down, like all around us. Like, should we close? The owner of the restaurant was like, should we just close tonight? And it was like this panic and change. So we have this change, and this is also the last full moon that will be in 27 degrees, and it's ruled by Mercury. Virgo is. So very mercurial, very busy, very important to tend to your body. Virgo is the most important sign for tending to the body. So look and see where 27 degrees, sorry, this is very, it's like there's no button here. It's the first time I'm wearing this. I shouldn't probably wear it in a video for the first time, but whatever. Okay, so 27 degrees, look to where that is in your chart, where 27 degrees of Virgo is. Very important. And like, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So Virgo is the sign of self-care, health, well-being, service to self first so that we can serve others. And because we are in Pisces season, and Pisces is so big, such big energy, that at its lower side, it can be really disassociated from the body, can be really disconnected to the body. Virgo asks us to get practical, to like do your daily green smoothie, do your daily yoga, do your daily things that you know bring you back to your body, to your breath, to your self-care. Okay, so it's really important. If you're not doing that, then we have the flip side of Virgo, which can be health crises, neuroses, anxiety, up with anxiety, not sleeping well. Of all the signs, Virgo tends to be one of the, I say Aquarius and Virgo are probably the worst at getting to sleep. So if you're noticing having trouble sleeping or getting to sleep, really during the day, pay attention to your routines, do extra self-care to shut down screens earlier, to, do whatever soothes you, a bath, calm the mind. Bring what's happening between the ears here down into the body. I was talking about in birth, we say it's more about what's happening between your ears than it is what's happening between your legs. And so then for this full moon, I'm getting the inspiration to say that we want to move what's happening between the ears down to between the legs. And that's actually really funny because there's a couple other things that are happening. One is that it's squaring Black Moon Lilith, which is the sexual priestess, which is a very important archetype for our times, because Black Moon Lilith, if you ask the patriarchy, Black Moon Lilith is the evil sorceress that will come in the middle of the night and steal your babies and eat them. And she is like the snake energy, and she lives in the trees, and she's like this horrible, horrible being. But then if you actually look at from the feminine perspective of what Black Moon Lilith actually, who she was the first wife of Adam, and she didn't want to be submissive to Adam, and she wanted to, like the story goes, she wanted to be on top too, right? Like she wanted to be on top, she wanted to be in her pleasure. And because of this, Adam was like, you're too complicated, this is too much, I'm just going to take a younger, more, less, thinking for themselves wife, and I'm exiling you. I mean, they probably killed her, but they exiled her supposedly. And then they created this horrible story about her. But the reality is, Black Moon Lilith is where we can vilify parts of ourselves, we can vilify others, but ultimately if we integrate it, it's where our pleasure and our freedom is. It's where our authenticity and our ability to advocate for ourselves is. And if we're looking at this in terms of the astrology right now with the full moon in Virgo, it's like this activation that can feel really uncomfortable if you are not familiar with this energy. If you're not familiar with, having to speak up for yourself, having to speak your truth, even if it's not popular, even if it goes against what everyone else around you believes. Even if people are like, I can't believe you believe that. Like, how many times have I heard that? I can't believe you believe that. It's scary to me that you believe that. And that's unsettling to be that person in the room, right? The other thing that we want to look at is being dangerous. Are you someone who other people consider to be dangerous because of your beliefs? And now as we're moving into this time period where the conversation in our collective is shifting dramatically, like very, very quickly, it's shifting. Are you going to be able to hold your ground? Are you going to be able to hold your center? And Black Lilith over in Gemini, 26 degrees of Gemini, so look to where that is in your chart. She's asking you to be okay being controversial. She's asking you to be okay being different. She's asking you if you can hold your own, if you can stand your ground. And if you can't, it might feel like you're starting to lose it. And I've gotten a lot of texts this week from people starting to lose it. And there's nothing wrong with you if this is happening for you. It's simply the fact that we're getting bombarded with this light energy. And if you can't anchor it, you're going to have these extreme highs and these extreme lows. And the lows are really bad. The lows are really hard. And the only way to we don't want to negate those, but we want to integrate those into balance. And the only way to do that is to trust yourself. The only way to do that is to know how to listen to the guidance that you're being given, to trust yourself. And so if you're not able to hold your ground, if you're not able to trust yourself, then you're certainly not going to be able to lead yourself, right? So this is the invitation that's coming up this month. We have a lot of energy shifting and changing. We have a lot of Aquarian energy squaring this Taurus energy. And so if you have fixed energy in your chart, like I do, you're feeling it. It's intense. It is intense. A lot is being asked to dissolve. And with that, there's a fear of letting too much go. There's a fear of kind of forgetting who you truly are. But ultimately, remember that Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It is asking us to dissolve everything from this whole last year, from, late March of 2021 to now. The other matching picture to this full moon is the new moon in Virgo, which was September 2nd-ish of this past fall, which, it was still summer. So what was in fruition for you then? Or what was a hope or a new moon intention? If you can look back at your journaling, this is why journaling is so good. You can look back at your intentions and see what you wanted then. How close are you to it now? What's coming into awareness for you now around those intentions? This is a culmination point, and because it is so activated with all the Piscean energy, all the squares, like if you look at the chart, I'll post it in my story, the chart for this full moon kind of looks like a bow and arrow. Like we're being ejected, we're being evicted from the old place that we used to find comfort in. And with that, it's really uncomfortable, right? And ultimately, we can't stay there anymore, because now with the South Node in Scorpio, and that's trining all of this water in Pisces as well, that South Node in Pisces, it's not like even the things that used to bring us comfort don't bring us comfort anymore. Like it's not a place we can hang out in comfortably anymore. And so we need to lean into that Taurus energy, which is our body, which is our senses, which is being in the present, which is really knowing the earth below us and connecting with the earth below us. So whatever you can do to ground yourself, to anchor yourself to the earth at this time. I know that working together, this is something that is like one of the best tools that I offer, is to help you anchor to the earth and help you feel safe in your body again, feel safe in your energetic field again. I do have a free training coming up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That is the Introduction to Feminine Leadership, and it is going off. It's going to be amazing, and the link is in my profile. And that also will continue on, if you're interested, to a 3-month group coaching experience where we go through each one of these feminine archetypes and integrate them and embody them and see where maybe shadow bits of them are living in our body, where the light elements of these are living in our body, and how to make peace with both of those sides. Make peace with both of those places so that we can integrate and utilize these archetypes in our life for our well-being. I say that there's like these circle of beautiful archetypes surrounding us at all times, and we just need to know when to call on each one. And there's nothing inherently bad or wrong with any of them. And this takes us back to this idea that there is a villain and there is an angel, or there's a devil and there's an angel, or there is, what's another way to say this? There is good and bad. There is, inherently evil and inherently good. And, everyone can have their own belief around that. But if we are really drilling that as an idea that is something outside of ourselves, like they are bad and we are good, that is the delusion of Neptune. And that is a dangerous place to be in, because ultimately we all have all of these things within each and every one of us. So the more that we can make peace with our own inner, what do we call that? The dark wolf and the light wolf, which one we're feeding. We can be aware of these things within us without having to always lean on one or the other. Lastly, Pluto is very active. If you haven't figured this out yet, welcome to the 2022 year, the 2023 year. Pluto is going to be very, very active from here on out until 2024, but even a bit into 2024. And that's uncomfortable. Pluto is the lord of the underworld. Pluto is the hidden. And right now, because Pluto is so active, the hidden is really trying to stay hidden. And because the South Node is in Scorpio, there are secrets. There are things that we need to really be okay with not necessarily understanding the full picture, not understanding what exactly is happening and still staying the course, still doing the things we know that are good for us, still being in the hope, still having hope. Do you know how much free will it takes to maintain hope? So much. And ultimately, that is our choice. That is our free will to choose that. So I hope that you'll choose hope. And as we move further into March, hopefully I'll be doing another live on the equinox. But every year on the equinox, we tend to get these light activations, these solar flares. And so really important to, if you're not sleeping well at night, to rest during the day, to take naps, to take good care. Is it Shani? You just popped on here right when I was saying take naps, so I'm thinking that's directly for you. And so I won't, there's so many things. If you look at this chart for the full moon, it's all I can say is it's ejecting us from the places that we can't live anymore, the comforts that we can't go to anymore. And it's forcing us to really utilize the tools that we've been learning for the past little bit. And so much, right? There's so much happening. But I will just say, with Pluto being active, look and see where, the end degrees of Capricorn is for you. We have been, and we will continue to be getting hit with this Pluto energy all the way through 2023 into the early 2024 time period. But with this full moon in particular, he's making easeful placement to the full moon. And because of that, it's a way for you to integrate maybe some messages in it. And this full moon is not gentle, but Pluto is acting in a gentle way to show us where he's unfolding something for us, where he's having us experience some pain to get to our power. So Pluto ultimately is about transformation, taking our pain and alchemizing it into our power. So that's not a comfortable process, but at the full moon, he's showing us himself in a peaceful-ish way, okay? What's not peaceful is, Venus, Mars, Saturn connection to Uranus right now. And that's all fixed energy. So if you do have a lot of fixed energy in your chart, yeah, it's intense. And all I can say is find things that bring you surrender. Find things that bring you peace. Baths, going to water, anything that's like flowing. With the fixed sign, we tend to like hold on to things, and this can even be like, I've been noticing with my muscles have been more tight. Like, what are you holding on to and why? And that's a great place to do your work. So depending on what placements you have, this can either be a really rejuvenating full moon in a sense, but I think for more of us than not, it's going to be uncomfortable. And I think that one of the things about it is really trusting your own inner wise counsel. When you're away from your phone, when you're away from your computer, when you are away from the things that distract you, the TV, the things, when you are with yourself in the quiet dark, what do you know? What do you know about yourself? What do you know about your connection to the divine? And if you don't have that relationship established, what are you waiting for? It's only going to get more difficult for you. So, obviously, if you don't believe in a source higher than you, then my work's probably not for you. But if you feel called to work together, this is a great time to do that and find your own inner God, inner goddess energy so that you trust yourself, so you know things that you need and that you desire. Okay, enough blabbing. If you haven't already gotten your planetary planner so that you can journal with each of the full and new moons, look, Greece, with each of the full and new moons, then it's a great time to get your planner. I have the paper planner on my website. And then I also have the digital planner that you can get on my website. And I will post the link for that in my story. So if you haven't gotten that, that's a great time to get that. And don't forget that I have a free training coming up on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. It is the Introduction to Feminine Leadership, Archetypes, and Astrology to help you get more success in your life. So check that link in my profile. Have a beautiful day. Take good care of yourselves. And I love you all. Bye.